Our next pair of cars, Ed McCulloch in the lane nearest the camera, the War Eagle of Dale Paldy, the far lane. McCulloch dropped out of drag racing for a couple of years, back in it again at the start of this season, and has got his hands full, not only with a 2,000 horsepower car, but the strong headwinds that are blowing on this track can affect these full-bodied cars a bit more than they can the slender and narrow top-fueled dragsters that we've seen thus far. The War Eagle of Dale Paldy into the winner's circle at the Winter Nationals. McCulloch has yet to win a national title in his comeback. His crew chief, Bernie Lewis, checking everything over, saying it's ready to go. Paldy patiently waiting as both cars getting set for the all-important start down the quarter mile. And Paldy up in smoke, almost hits the guardrail. McCulloch holds the car through for the quarter of a mile at 6.26 seconds at 226 miles an hour. As we watch again, you see the smoke coming off the tires, indicating losing traction for Paldy. McCulloch also losing traction just a bit, but he comes back and recovers and takes the win over the War Eagle.
Until Don Prudhomme came along, there was no bigger name in AA fuel funny car racing than Ed the Ace McCulloch from Fresno, California. McCulloch now going into the semifinals. Ace, were you concerned about that lane that had just been oiled down?
Well, actually I was when I first saw it get oiled, and then Gary went up there and took the opposite lane, and I questioned that, and they do a really good job cleaning it up. They run the track dryer over, so I figured it'd be okay, so we took it.
How's it feel to be back in a serious threat now?
Well, you know, what can I say? The car runs well. We'd like to be running a little bit better here, but we're not hurting it bad. We had a little problem qualifying, but got it straightened out, and I think we'll be okay.
Looks like it. Thank you, Ace.
Thanks, Steve.
As Ed heads back to the car on the starting line, it is the defending world champion, Ray Beadle in the Blue Max from Dallas, Texas. Stopping the string at 4 for Don Prudhomme. Last season, Ray Beadle won the very coveted world champion title. He's against John Collins in one of the Datsun 280Z bodied cars. John had the misfortune of crashing his car in March of this year, and this is his first major event since a total rebuild. Ray Beadle, the world champion, in the near lane. John Collins in the right lane. And a wheel stand start by Beadle. He's all over the race course, but he gets it straightened out, and he's on fire. An engine explosion, the fire coming out underneath the car, the parachute whipping through the breeze. Beadle trying to bring the car to a stop. Steve, you're down there. What's going on?
This time,
Dave, Raymond Beadle sliding to a stop down here. The emergency crews rushing from both ends of the racetrack. He actually stopped in rather an awkward part of the racetrack and not normally where the fire equipment is needed, but they're on him now.
Ray Beadle encased in his fire suit, A-OK. As we watch it again, you see him leave the starting line. The wheels are in the air. It begins to drift out towards the guardrail. Raymond drops the front wheels back on the pavement. Meanwhile, John Collins trying his best to pull ahead of the world champion. As Raymond making the charge for the finish line, the engine explodes. Some piston smoke out of John Collins' car, but the fire is the important thing in the Blue Max. You see the parachute, part of the shroud lines burned away, and there is where Ray Beadle hits the onboard fire extinguishers and knocks the fire down. John Collins with his arm around Ray Beadle. Both drivers A-OK. The Blue Max itself singed just a little bit. Here again, Steve.
Dave, Raymond Beadle says it was a little hot under his seat. You okay?
Yeah, it's okay. The car just wheel stood real good. I had to let it down, and yeah, it's okay. Just got a little hot, no problem.
The onboard fire extinguishers really help.
Yeah, well, the car, I wasn't going to use them at first, and they got too hot, and I just had to.
I'll bet it got hot.
Yeah, a little hot, a little hot.
And you know, waiting down here for you is some of the finest emergency crews anywhere.
Yeah, no problem. They were right on the deal. I just want them to get the body up in case it was on fire, but it's okay.
Okay, what now? Change engines?
Yeah, we'll change motors. No problem.
Okay, Raymond Beadle is all right, but what a spectacular fire under the Blue Max.
Steve, the emergency crew having their work cut out for him today, is back on the starting line. The man that has won 4 consecutive world champion titles in funny car racing. Don Prudhomme sits patiently as his crew chief Bob Brandt starts the some 2,000 horsepower engine. The body will be lowered down over Prudhomme and latched into place firmly. But now it goes back up again momentarily. And Bob Brandt walks in, checks everything over, the engine just sort of idling away. They can run for a number of minutes. They carry water inside the blocks and cylinder heads. And on nitromethane fuel, just idling, they can idle for quite some time before they get too hot. As he pulls into the water and does his burnout, a very popular event with the drag racing fans. Don Prudhomme is matched against Billy Meyer from Waco, Texas. There in slow motion, we see the burnout, and the rear of the car seems to rise in the air, and that is because the tires, as they are spinning, grow in size some 6 inches or more due to the centrifugal force. The purpose of the burnout, of course, is to heat the tires up. Prudhomme doing another dry burnout, as does Billy Meyer. Meyer backs into position, and the starter giving the cutoff sign to Don Prudhomme. The crew for Billy Meyer applauding. Competition director Steve Gibbs shaking his head to the snake, saying, no, you cannot run it. Something apparently coming out of the motor, either oil or water, that would have made it hazardous for Prudhomme to complete the run, so it's a single for Billy Meyer. Billy, out of shape right off the starting line, gets near the center line and backs away. If he had had a good run going, you may have seen him trying for a good low elapsed time, as the low ET from the previous round getting the choice of lanes in the next round of racing. But for Prudhomme, his racing day is done, and this is a very rare occurrence. You very seldom see Don Prudhomme shut off at the starting line for leakage of any type. For Billy Meyer, a nice victory as he now goes into the semifinals, taking off his fire suit and racing equipment, handing it to his wife, Deborah. Drag racing, often a husband and wife combination.
When you look into my eyes and you see the crazy gypsy in my soul, it always comes as a surprise when I feel my withered roots begin to grow. Well, I never had a place that I could call my very own, but that's all right, my love, 'cause you're my home. When you touch my weary head and you tell me everything will be alright, you say, use my body for your bed, and my love will keep you warm throughout the night. Well, I'll never be a stranger and I'll never be alone. Wherever we're together, that's my home. You're my home.
Over 600 race cars began competition here 4 days ago at this 16th annual Spring Nationals. Today, an overflow crowd of spectators in the house for these final eliminations. Meantime, Steve's caught up with Don Prudhomme.
Well, just when things look brightest, low ET of the event at a 6:08, you give one away. What happened?
They had an oil leak, Steve. You know, these things you just never know. They shake and vibrate so much from run to run, you don't know what the heck's going to happen. And the car had an oil leak. You know, it was an oil line that was left loose, and, you know, what can I say? Shut us off.
Well, everyone knows that it's the quickest car in all of drag racing. It's just a matter of time before it's back in the winner's circle.
Yeah, it's disappointing. You know, we felt as though that the car could run real good here, run a 6:08, and, you know, I think it had a little left in it, and it's disappointing.
A real tough break for Don Prudhomme. Pro Stock Eliminator, one of the most popular of all categories. Earlier this weekend, Steve took a close-up look.
A championship caliber pro stocker like this Camaro costs over twice as much to build as any top fuel dragster or funny car here at the Spring Nationals. They're the most sophisticated machines in all of drag racing. Even though they're all-out race cars, they have to maintain a street appearance, use most of the original body, retain the exact dimensions of the original car, even carry a passenger seat. All in all, 8 seconds at 160 miles an hour is drag racing's most expensive proposition.
And the man who drives this car is Lee Shepard from Arlington, Texas. Winner of 3 national events thus far this season. He'll be racing against Kevin Roddy from Tucson, Arizona, the man who lost to Shepard at Pomona. Bob Glidden, the world champion, will be driving his Ford Fairmont against the Chevy Monza of Frank Iaconio. And here he is, the world champion, Bob Glidden, proudly bearing the big number 1 on the window. Glidden, the winner of every national event over a 12-month period, won the national title last season. He's racing against Frank Iaconio, number 2 in the world, to Glidden last year. With the wheels high in the air, the gasoline-burning Pro Stock cars race to the finish line, and a close race it is as Glidden pulls it out at the finish. The crew and wife Etta looking on with glee as Bob Glidden takes the win in the semifinal round. As we watch in slow motion, approaching the timing lights at the end of the track, Glidden beginning to pull away, and by a car length wins it over Frank Iaconio. Kevin Roddy drives the Chevrolet Camaro against the all-winning Camaro of Rare and Morrison, driven by Lee Shepard. Winner of the Winter Nationals, the Gator Nationals, the Cajun Nationals. Can he make it 4 in a row? He has to get past Kevin Roddy to make it to the finals. Horsepower beginning to tell as Lee Shepard pulls away. His elapsed time, 8.58 seconds. His speed, 155 miles an hour. As he gets close to the finish line, his lead increases. And it is Bob Glidden and Lee Shepard in the finals. When I spoke of the over 600 race cars in competition, the bulk of those racers fall into the sportsman category of competition. Those Eliminator champions were decided earlier today. In the handicap racing of Stock Eliminator, in the near lane, 27-year-old Mike Magistro of Wantagh, New York, came from behind to defeat Ray Stover of Mount Vernon, Ohio. In doing so, he took home some $4,000 in cash and awards. The Lady World Champion in Super Stock Eliminator, Amy Falk, got the lead and held on for the win over Lynn LaPerriere in Super Stock Eliminator. Modified Eliminator, some $8,000 going to Don Bowles, a coal mine company president, over F.J. Smith of Cayuga, Ontario, Canada. Competition Eliminator saw Bill Mitchell of West Islip, New York, take his first title ever and some $9,500 as he defeated another Canadian, Jake Clausen of Winnipeg. Pro Comp Eliminator, the top of the line of the sportsman categories. And this driver, Brian Raymer out of Denver, Colorado, was the man you saw put his dragster right into the bullseye, into the catch net at the finish, but yet here he is in the final against Ken Vini. Ken Vini has been in the finals 13 times prior to this Spring Nationals event, and he would like to take home another of the famed NHRA Oscars. But Brian Raymer has low elapsed time of the meet thus far in Pro Comp racing at 6.55 seconds. These dragsters very similar to Top Fuel racers, except they run on straight methanol, no nitromethane fuel allowed. Brian Raymer and Ken Vini, the final stage of the final race in Pro Comp Eliminator. Vini beginning to lose ground as his car wavering from the center line of his lane, and it is Brian Raymer, a real success story, as he wins the Pro Comp Eliminator title at 6.66 seconds. Here you see Ken Vini drifting out of control and Brian Raymer streaking for the finish line in the win. At the turnaround area, here's Steve Evans.
Brian Raymer, did you ever think when you drilled the target on that net that you'd be right here and headed for the winner's circle?
Yes, seriously had my doubts. I guarantee you. I was, in fact, that was my first thought about going through the net. It's going to make it hard to get to the final.
You amazed everybody making repairs. How'd you do that?
A lot of help. A lot of help from a lot of different racers, including the people we beat.
Is that right? Well, Ken Veeney's a tough one. This makes 2 national events this year for you, right?
That's right.
And runner-up last year at the World Finals. Congratulations. Brian Raymer from the high country of Denver proves he can do it at sea level too.